I've been
Well-
good at getting him. Now I can't get him.
We are,
Mom.
the March, what is the date? Yeah, March 24th,
31st.
31st, right. I was reading minutes. Select board meeting, March 31st, and it is 6:03 and we're getting started. Any changes to the agenda board that you can think of? All right, no changes. Well, announcements. Only, I just want to say, I was meeting with FEMA today. They're going to be doing a site visit of roads off Brook Road tomorrow and Thursday. And tomorrow, Wednesday and Thursday. So I'm going to join them, and Mike Bingham's going to join where he can, and we're going to have them get an assessment of what damages we may be entitled to get some help with. So that's happening.
I have an announcement also.
Yeah,
Saturday, the 12th, there is a community group that has offered to come together and host a listening circle. The intention being, as I had written on the Front Porch Forum some time ago, an opportunity for those who have spoken but have not felt heard in this village expansion process writ large. So it's an opportunity to come together, to not talk about the specificity, the design, the cost. This is like a feeling space in the hope that we all might start to feel heard in our feelings about it. Yeah, again, citizens effort, grassroots. It's going to be in the basement of Grace Church at 1 o'clock, Saturday, the 12th. Thank you.
thank you. Any other announcements?
Want to say again, good job, road crew.
Yeah,
I have a request again that the select board please use mic when I have difficulty hearing from this position. What you are saying, I know the people on the end can hear you, but we can't, or at least I can't.
okay,
Thank you.
I guess I'll, if I can get that.
Yeah.
Thank
Not
you.
turned on.
Yep. Is it on? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we are public comments. We have this is a special meeting, so we'll be talking about the expansion project. So any other comments or anybody have anything that they'll want to say?
Yeah, this is Jeremy Met, the CV Fiber Plainfield rep. Just, I know that's on the agenda for later on, just throwing it out there that if you want me to say a couple of words about that, I am available. I'll be listening in. Thanks.
Great, thanks. Appreciate it. Okay, I think we'll move on to the appointments. We have to, as was decided last year or a year and more ago, our town clerk and treasurer are now appointed and not elected. So we need to reappoint Bram and Josh to their positions for 1 year.
Motion about that?
Didn't hear.
You gotta pass the mic.
Yeah, I can't hear either.
Are we making a motion on that?
Yes, we need a
Yes.
motion.
I move that we reelect, we reappoint Graham and.
Josh?
Sorry, for another year. If they will so do it.
Second. Yeah, and in the notes and just generally we'll Bram for town clerk and Josh
Oh.
for town treasurer.
Yes.
Yeah. thanks. Oh, well, you know. Each year.
And with that modified note, can we have a vote of all those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? You're in. Okay. So we have the appointments for our committee that is studying the expansion project, and as last meeting, we agreed to split up the many folks who had offered to be part of this committee, and to call folks that we felt would either represent a broad spectrum of who's out there and the ideas that they want to bring to the table. And also folks who have been on the committee, the steering committee, so that there's kind of a continuity of information. And also folks with special expertise in technical or accounting or some of those things. So we have made our calls all this week and have talked to people, and we will be I guess the first thought, and was suggested, we have the mic open for anyone who wants to say anything about being on this committee. We are looking for people that are going to try to move it forward and not just be a roadblock. So that was, but everybody who we saw on the list were pretty willing to be fair about it. So do we want to read the list, do you think, or do we want to?
What, I don't know that we have a list,
Okay,
based on our conversations. I think we want to see if folks have any last comments before we deliberate.
yeah, anyone have any thoughts or comments regarding the appointments?
You gotta go to the, nope, you gotta go to that mic.
That mic, please.
You can lift it up.
It's Michael Burnham. Just a quick question. Could you describe the process with which you interview people, how you divide up, how you consulted each other so that you can reach consensus before this meeting?
We haven't done any discussion of this as a board because we can't. Rose and I looked over the lists, as did others have their own opinions, and offered to call people of the, how many were there? 40 or so?
32.
32 people, the ones that we felt would add to this committee. So that was it. We did not meet outside of this. This is our discussion tonight. So again, anyone have any thoughts to share with us?
Well, I think we're doing public comment first.
Okay. Well, I was just gonna answer his question
Well, you did answer it.
for me.
Question?
Yes.
Michael Billingsley. I just curious for the sake of everyone here, if in terms of whether the prompt comments or whatever, does it, if we didn't receive a phone call from one of the board members asking about our interest, would that mean we automatically were not one of the people considered? In other words, was everyone who was considered get a phone call?
No, I don't think that, I think that was the idea. I'm not sure if that was what happened in practice, so I don't think that everybody that we had interest in were called, but most of them were.
Does that mean if people weren't called and are still interested, they should say so now?
I would say so, yes. And remember that we're trying to keep this committee to 11 people.
Yeah.
But there can be a lot of other folks who are in committees or subcommittees or researchers, or there's a lot of ways to get involved for people that really would like to. But we were looking for what we hoped would be a nice cohesive group.
Sure, thank you. I was just trying to get the clarity so people here would know.
Yeah.
How to respond next.
Thank you.
I can speak personally because I had no conversations with the other board members. I went through the list of 32. I picked out who I thought would be appropriate for the committee. I narrowed it down to 11. I contacted all of them. I spoke with 10 of them. There was only one who I was unable to connect with. That's me.
I did that too, pretty much. I had 10 people here, but one person said yes, no, depends on how many times they actually meet. So I tried to do people that had different things, like some who were architects, and some who are really good at talking to other people, some who are leaders. Well, I hopefully different people, not different people that are on the community already, but who have different skills.
So this is a challenging thing to do. Is there any other comments before we move on? So do we want to have a discussion board about who we talk to and who we'd like to have as our picks and then
Yeah.
compare them?
I have a proposal.
Yeah, okay, let's go.
Hello. We're designing this on the fly. I propose that one of us name the 11 that is on their list. And each one of us can like check or circle, not check. In so doing, hopefully there's a bunch of overlap. And maybe there is any lingering conversation about the last picks for the committee. But that we could, yeah, agree early on as many as possible by speaking and listening.
I can do that, I can do that.
Patty has volunteered to read her list.
Oh, go ahead, Patty.
Can you call that drum roll?
Drum roll, please.
Yeah, Debbie, if I see your name wrong, I'm really sorry. Jared Bridgeport, is he here? Here, right there, okay. Kim Medlinski, is she here? Okay. Eli, is it Barlow? Barlow, thank you, Eli, I'm sorry. Johnny Osmond, Ethan O'Hara, Lauren Geiger, Rick Burrows, Michael Billingsley. And didn't you have to call me Michael? Arian, Alex Forbes, and Justin LaPearl, maybe. Those are mine.
Okay, thank you.
Right down the road.
Sure.
Yes,
I had Justin LaPearl, Elizabeth Ross Colgate, Donnie Osmond, Liz Peralt, Vicky McDonald, Kirsty Grant, John Hosford, Arian Taboomery, Jared Birchmore, Lauren Geiger, and Rick Burrows.
I hope someone's writing all that down. I cannot type it as fast as people were saying. So I think based on that, I think we're talking about the ones we have in common first, right? Just so we can
yes.
get to agreement. Can you read your whole list? Yeah, okay. So like Peter, I have Kirsty Grant on my list. I have Lauren Geiger on my list. Like Patty, I have Eli Barlow, Rick Burrows, John Hosford, who is on Peter's list, Donnie Osmond, which was on both of their lists, Arian Taboomery, who was on both their lists, Liz Peralt, who was on Peter's list, Kim Madalinsky, who was on Patty's list, and I think that's only 9, I think. I have one more person, I only have 10 on my list, but I can either add him now or wait till we have more discussions.
Yeah, okay. I did not do all 11, but I did do Liz Peralt, Donnie Osmond, Arian, and Donna, what's last name?
Donna Sampson.
Sampson, yeah.
I don't think she was.
And that was all I was able to talk to. I missed a few.
Do you have others that you think should be on the committee or?
The ones I've been seeing names of folks that I would see as being on the committee, so
Okay.
let's hear yours and then we'll talk about it.
Kirsty Grant, Lauren Geiger, Rick Burrows, John Hosford, Donnie Osmond, Arian Taboomery, Donna Sampson, Walker Blackwell, Liz Peralt, Elizabeth Ross Colgate, Kim Madalinsky.
Okay, are you keeping a checklist?
So. Or should I say that?
I didn't hear that.
I think I have these all said yes at least. You wanna do that? Donnie Osmond, Lauren Geiger,
Yeah,
Rick Burrows. Aaron. That might be, and, Kim Malinsky,
You didn't have him on your list.
you have him? I'm sorry.
I have 4 unanimous,
Yeah, 4.
Lauren, Rick, Arian,
And Donnie?
and Donnie Osmond.
okay.
Transparent moment. Okay,
Did everybody agree all my names except Dan?
Dan read.
Oh, my other one was Walker Blackwell, which was on France Rose's list, sorry.
Yeah, so open to ideas about where from here.
Well, Liz Pearl was mentioned on 4 of the 5, so I would. Move there.
Yeah, and she seemed genuinely excited about trying to help this.
All right, I'm.
And she has experience in, the recent career has been developing property, up in Burlington area, mostly commercial, but still there's a lot of overlap there.
So perhaps, we can, I'm not sure I got everybody's votes, just so. Perhaps we can like go through the list one more time, person by person, and we can see how many votes there are per person. For example, Kirsty Grant. She's on my list. So that's 3. Are we doing majority here, or do we want to be debating each one?
Let's do majority. I didn't talk to her, so.
Okay, so Kirsty, yes.
Michael,
Yep.
That was Kirsty Grant, 3 out of 5 votes across the board. Kim Madalinsky, maybe we can do hands, show of hands on the board.
mhm.
3 out of 5. I heard Justin LaPearl, is that the name? Solo, 1,
2 of us.
2, thank you. John Osford on my list. 3. Walker Blackwell on my list.
2.
Just 2. Donna Sampson on my list. 2. I'm gonna pass this mic down to someone else whose names have
Yeah, I'll
not
let
yet
you-
been.
I believe Jared Birchmore was on a couple lists, 2. I think there was a name only on your list. Vicky McDonald, right, Peter?
Yes,
That's 1. Ross Colgate, Vicky McDonald. Ross Colgate
I have,
is on 2 people's lists.
it was, did you have Ross?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, just us 2.
Yeah. Kim's on this list. Okay, so right now, if we go away, majority rule, we have 4 folks who are on everyone's lists. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 folks who are on most people's lists. So we're at 8, we have 3 spots left. We have. Donna, and Michael Billingsley had 1 vote as well. Sorry, Michael. Yeah, you're the one. So we have Donna Sampson, Walker Blackwell, Justin LaPearl, Jared Birchmore, Michael Billingsley, Vicky McDonald, and Ross Colgate, all with 1 or 2 votes. I don't know if we wanted. Oh, and Eli, sorry, Eli. Eli, how many votes did Eli have? Wait, just 2? Okay. Eli Barlow, and he's on my list, apologies.
So we have you go through your list one more time, or?
Do I get everything else?
I believe so.
Yeah, I got it. I mean,
Oh, you got it, okay.
yeah, I missed my own list. I didn't miss.
Oh, okay,
You looking for comments?
yeah,
So it seems we have part of my thinking in putting my list together was, and I know when you put together an initial grid of
You
you
being
assigned people to categories. Of
on your iPhone.
What?
I'm sorry, we had a
we had a,
technical issue there. Part of my thinking was looking at the grid, there were different categories of people. Such as original steering committee members, abutting landowners, potential buyers, people who've been affected. And people with certain skills, and I think I would put those in the category of professional skills as from engineering to financial to fundraising to public relations, a list like that. And my thinking was for a committee of 11 to set a new tone, if you will. I wanted to limit the number of former steering committee members to 4. I thought to have a heavier representation of those steering committee members would be a little out of balance to the message that we got from people who may not have been as supportive of this project as possible. So, and right now we have 4 on the list that we've all agreed to. So that's my thinking. I'll shut up about that because I will advocate for certain individuals as we go further.
okay,
Yeah, I'll just note from the list that we have, what's not on this 8-person committee is prospective buyers. And so I think there are a number of good prospective buyer potential candidates. Eli Barlow, Jared Richmore, Walker Blackwell. I know there were others, but those are the ones that came up so far in this conversation. And I think having 1, if not 2 prospective buyers, folks that are actually looking to potentially utilize the property and thinking about that in the future seems very important to me.
Agreed.
Rose and I actually sat down together and we kind of came up with the same feelings you did, Peter. We wanted kind of a balance. We wanted to get different sides represented as best we could. I like the technical knowledge that some people bring, some of the candidates bring. So that was my thought.
Yeah, hearing Peter about 4 on my list was 6. Wondering if we split the difference in 5. We could also stack function here by having a prospective buyer that was also on the original steering committee. We are trying to, as Peter said, we are trying to restore faith in this project by welcoming new energy to it. And we also want to make the most that we can of the momentum that was and the momentum that is still. So on this list that I have of, prospective buyers and the original steerers, actually, it's all of them.
Not Walker.
Walker was not on the committee,
No.
on the original steering group?
No.
Okay, so Jared or Eli?
Yeah, go.
I'll just say, I definitely want to balance as well. I do think, I don't see after 130 to 30 vote and my own conversations in the community that we need to restore anything. I mean, I think there are people in town who are concerned about the project. They are in the minority and we want to work with them and make sure all voices are there. But this is not a project that has been tarnished in any way or on the wrong track. It's actually on the right track and the voters have said they want us to continue it on the track. So I just think that what we're trying to do is balance all the voices we can. I think we've had a very successful village expansion committee to create a project this far and do this much work in this amount of time. So I get that there's some division, but I think that the vote on town meeting day shows that the division is, 20, 20 or 25% of that vote, not, it's like a 50-50 vote or something, and so I think we have to respect that vote as much as possible, and Michael, we do see your hand, but I think we're just gonna be talking up here for at least a little while.
Well, I can just say Jared was on my list as a steering committee, but also as a prospective buyer. That's why he made my cut.
Mhm. Mhm.
So,
Carl, did you want to speak?
I had a thought, it just escaped me. Well, I think, well, I guess my thought was this, that. I guess not. It seems like there's general support for getting housing in town. I think a lot of the concerns were lack of information and speed that was going. And so lack of information is what the steering committee has been trying to pull together and what we hope this new committee will do. So we can get facts and figures and we can have timelines that are real, and it will result in housing that we do need in this town. So that was part of my thinking as well when I was going through this list with you.
I guess, given that we need prospective buyers, or potential buyers, and dodging the question about how many people from the village expansion, are folks comfortable if we have Walker Blackwell, lives on Hudson Avenue, was flood affected, him and his wife and young child, and it wants to step up, and maybe a prospective buyer and lives in the village and is pretty close neighbor either way.
Mhm.
Are folks good with?
You spoke with him?
I spoke with.
Yeah.
him, yeah, his wife,
Show
yeah.
show of hands.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
All right, that gets us to 9.
General point, go ahead.
Michael Billis again, I just want to ask about the question, which is, if you're saying that you're leaning against using original members of the steering committee, I'm not advocating for myself here at all, I'm just that a lot of the expertise is in that committee. So if you're pushing to keep that to a smaller percentage of the working group, and leaving behind the expertise just because they are on the steering committee, does that not reduce the amount of knowledgeable people who already have institutional knowledge from that working group, the new committee?
I can speak to that. Go ahead.
I don't think anyone's being left behind here. I mean, I think if you look at the mission statement we adopted last week, there's the expectation that there are going to be working groups, that there's going to be all kinds of input, that I don't expect anyone from the steering committee to not be involved in way, shape, or form. But we are talking about a group that is going to need to come to some consensus and to make specific recommendations to the board. So I don't think any input is being left aside. I thoroughly expect that the steering committee folks are going to be exert a lot of influence here. I don't think that's in question. I would like to speak to another person who was on my list, Vicky McDonald.
Okay.
Vicky has a long relationship to the town, as a former planning commission member, as a school board member, as a long family connection to the town, former village resident, and in my conversation with her, agreed with virtually every other person I talked to. Carl, on your theme of housing, writ broadly, is a concern here. We have another item later on for a housing commission. We've been talking about rental stuff at Goddard. So I think housing and revitalizing the town was a common thread I heard from everyone I spoke to. So.
That's good background, good input, sorry. Did you have something?
On Vicky, 40 years of project management experience is meaningful. To Michael's point, the way we design the charter of the committee, there broadly, it's like there's the committee itself, there are liaisons to the committee, and there are the working groups that are satellites around the committee. Meaning there are 11 voting members, but meanwhile, there is ample plus the fact that these meetings, because they are now an official select board sanctioned committee, are all open meetings. Which mean, yeah, there's going to be ample input from any who want to share their input to the meeting.
Point of procedure.
Yeah,
So we just want to make sure, when you do the hand votes, it's a requirement for the minutes that we know who's voting.
Well, we're gonna have a motion for a slate at the end. This is us
Oh,
just building
in
the
other words-
slates.
in other words, you sir, okay, I just wanted to make. sure.
Yeah.
yeah, thank you. That's valid point. This is just to kind of get a reading for our own internal ideas. So we have 10 now?
We have not.
Well, we have 9, we haven't voted on, we haven't hand voted on Vicky.
Oh, okay.
Do you want us to do that?
I think we should hand vote on Vicky. Yeah, yeah, that was a recommendation, and we have several people who support that. I would go with that. Yeah.
Alright. So I feel pretty strongly that the last person should be another prospective buyer. I think of the ones that many of us have talked to, Eli Barlow and Jared Birchmore, are the two that seem to make sense. They're both great. They're both, on there. I don't know, I don't want them to choose between themselves as roommates, but, I'll just say, like, I interacted with both of them. They're both great. They've both done a lot for the committee. Eli and I worked on the public engagement, survey early in the process. The only part of the process I worked on was getting public, input into the project early on. And he was great to work with and very on top of things. And so I feel very comfortable with him, but I think we can't go wrong with either of them.
Anyone have any other thoughts on that?
I agree with Dan.
I just want to throw out that, you know, Kim and Arian are the same household. Eli and Jared. are
Only because of the flood.
Same household.
Only because of the
Because
flood.
of the flood, you know, so, I mean, I don't know if that's a factor, but. I'd be happy with either of them.
Do we want
I mean, can we, may we consult the two in the room right now?
we got a coin?
I'm very comfortable being part of a working group for this project. I'm also comfortable being a voting member. I think having either one of us on there would be great. I really admire Jared's public speaking. Yeah.
What got me?
Okay, thank you.
So it sounds like, wanna do a hand vote on Jared?
Let's have him
Yeah.
chat.
Well, yeah, I was probably going to say the same thing about Eli. If the select board so chooses, I'd be happy to be on the committee. Also happy to be engaged in other ways, not as a voting member. But yeah, I also believe that you could go wrong with either one of us.
Eli Barlow, and maybe there were other names read who I don't know, who might also be good committee members, so I don't think it should be a challenge. Yeah.
Well, at this point, we're just looking at for one to round out our committee, so.
Arm wrestle.
Let's just do a hand vote on Jared Birchmore.
Sounds good.
Okay, hand vote on Jared. All those?
All right. So give me 1 second to get all these names into one motion for a second.
We're testing Dan's typing skills.
Yeah, they're not great.
I'd say they're pretty good, but
I can read the names.
Oh, yeah, so why don't we read the names while we're working?
I guess, can I make this also the motion? Motion to appoint to the new East Village Expansion Advisory Committee, Kirsty Grant, Lauren Geiger, Kim Medalinsky, Rick Burrows, Arian Tagumari, Donnie Osmond, John Hosford, Liz Peral, Walker Blackwell, Jared Birchmore, and Vicky McDonald.
Second,
Did you get it?
I got it.
Wow. See, I told you it was good. And so, is that the 11 or is that 10?
I think
That's the 11.
1,
That's
2,
the 11,
3,
okay.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Okay, so we have a motion to appoint these folks to the committee
And a second.
and a second. And all those in favor, say aye.
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 Congratulations, folks.
Congratulations. Now the work begins or continues. Okay, okay, I guess the next item on our agenda is Bean Road.
Speaking to the mic.
Is Bean Road. And so we're gonna talk about Bean Road for a minute. Do you have anything to report about our tenant at Bean Road?
Kim's basically his landlord at this point.
Kim Nolan, he is still there.
I was afraid of that.
Yeah, he has not gone anywhere. And as
So-
I just heard tonight, the dog has now been registered and proof of his rabies shots.
Closer to the mic, please.
Yes, the dog has rabies shots and has been registered with the town. We have contacted the town attorney, understanding that he was not likely to leave. And so I was hoping to hear from him today. Did not, but I suspect tomorrow we'll hear something about what the next step is. Graham, do you have some info?
Yeah. I have not heard the Brent Tobin town clerk. I know that the zoning administrator was in contact with the lawyer today. I didn't get a final report on what happened, but I do know the new constable is up there. Dan Caddy, he did not see the dog off the property. However, he saw the dog tethered. However, he documented paw prints of the dog leaving the property in the snow and going on other people's properties. I just thought that people should know that, and we have photographic evidence of that. Dan was going to try to join the call at some point. He's on assignment in the field right now, but he's going to try to call him, but just in case he didn't, I wanted to share that with him.
Thank you. That's good information.
So you said that Dan went up and talked with Devin?
Didn't talk with him.
Oh,
No, he just wanted to familiarize himself with the situation and just see. He didn't take any action, but he did document that although the dog at the time, this was this morning, was tethered, there were dog prints from the property onto neighboring properties. I don't think it was yours. I saw the pictures. I think it was Ryan's.
Okay,
Someone can correct me if I'm wrong here, but the fact that the dog got registered and had its rabies shots makes the enforcement of our previous action moot because they have complied on that. Now, if the dog is loose and threatening, that is to come another thing. And the review of the dog ordinance that we have is that the animal control officer or constable must witness that personally in order to take an action. It can't be just because others of us have seen that. In terms of the court order, my understanding with the attorney is that we are now going to begin contempt proceedings.
mhm.
That's the next step. Unfortunately, these things take time. But I personally have gone to the property and I know Ryan has, and we have sent that information on. Our eyewitness accounts, the car was definitely there. It was snowed in the other night. There were no footprints. Then the car was shoveled out and it was moved. So the occupancy is ongoing. And I did, get information from Karen Story that in the initial, notice of violation called NOV in the court document, it did reference specifically the connection of the RV to the septic system and potential violation there. So environmentally, that is something that I would hope our attorney would, follow up on.
Mhm. I'm concerned about the viciousness of this dog. And the fact that it's had rabies shots is good, but the dog has bitten somebody and it's frightening the neighbors, and I don't know what to do other than try to document when we see the dog loose and advise our animal control officer, who did mention, I mentioned to you that he mentioned that he didn't have a noose that worked, and you're looking into that. Yeah. So we're trying to get us some equipment for our animal control officer so he can deal with that. Michael, go ahead.
Michael Billingsley, I have three relevant points. The first is that I wanted to make sure everyone had realistic expectations for the constable. I'm working with Graham to formalize the job description, and the constable is a peace officer rather than a law enforcement officer. So if there's actually law enforcement, the undertaking would require the presence of the sheriff. And the second point is that we have multiple logs being taken by multiple people of encounters and observations. And I was wondering if there's any way to collate them all together, so we end up having a whole list of every dated violation in anticipation of a possible court action. And the last thing is, I remember the animal control officer saying that he had determined there was no place to take the dog if it was impounded. And I was wondering if that had been solved yet.
I have not heard if that's been solved. Have you?
No, and I called around to a few places, some places that would have taken him if we lived in a different part of the state, but have not found a place in our part of the state that would currently take them. And everywhere I talk to also has waiting lists. So a lot of the places are full right now. Because of natural disasters and other things, there's been a lot of pets moving around. So I don't know of an open space yet, but I will keep calling and trying to find.
Thank you.
Space.
Yeah. One more, yeah.
So as a neighbor, should I still be keeping track of him living here? Or is Karen taking care of this?
I believe Karen is more attentive because of what happened in the court. That she has to have a log and she has to be there
Right.
several times a week.
It's sufficient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, based on the judge's ruling, I think they are hoping that actual official town folks, so Karen,
Okay,
constable, animal control officer, might be the ones dealing with this. So I think calling them, especially calling the constable and the animal control officer, depending on if he's there, if you want to go see him there, or the dog's running around, is what I would suggest.
okay.
Just
And Bram, do you have on this point?
wanting to note that the constable has just arrived into the meeting via
Okay.
Zoom.
Okay. Did you have something?
The lawyer in the conversation with the zoning administrator today regarding the dog wanted documentation of all events concerning that property. I sent an email to Peter asking him to compose a compendium of the dog events, but I know there are other issues which might have involved the police regarding disturbances from the property, damage and so forth. I think if we could, in legal circles, the more paper trail you have, the more witnesses, the better. Therefore, I think if the neighbors could, I know Ryan has sent a lot of documentation. If that could be centralized and presented to the lawyer, that would be helpful.
Yeah. Everything that happens should be noted at least.
Yeah. and
It's
just-
not official.
And just to note, Dan, I did mention that you had visited the property today and documented the dog off the footprints of the dog in the snow. Just FYI. I don't know if you want to talk about it.
Yeah, Dan, do you want to comment on this since you were there?
Yeah, I took a trip up to 79 Bean Road today. I remember it being a counterpoint from the individual that the dog's never off the lead. With the fresh snow, I figured it was a good time to go up and take a look. The dog was out when I got there. It was on a lead, but I parked and took a look, and there were fresh paw prints that were consistent from one side of the road to the other, crossing from 79 Bean Road over to Mr. Christensen's property, back also up the road. So the assertion that the dog is never off the lead, there's photo evidence that is 100% false. Also, with the order to vacate, the two vehicles that were on the property have not moved after the recent snowfall. And there's been no evidence of anybody pulling in or pulling out because there were no tire tracks. So there has been no effort made to comply with the order to vacate the property. And the dog, in fact, now there's video evidence or picture evidence I can provide to the select board that it is in fact off the lead. That's what I had for that.
Okay, thank you. We'll be looking to the lawyer and to Karen to get more data, and we have to just follow this through. But any notes you have you want to share would be helpful. As Bram said, paper trails are useful.
Yep, I will email that to all of you. I wanted to go up today and just familiarize myself with the lay of the land, and also just see if there had been any compliance with the order to vacate. So a lot of good information and documentation from that.
Thank you. That's good. That's great.
I would just say, hopefully we hear from Michael soon. If there is action that the select board needs to take on this contempt charge, I would just say like we should call a special meeting. We only need a 1 day's notice for special meetings as soon as possible to move things forward.
Mhm.
To make sure we're not the reason that things are not moving forward.
Right. Okay. I don't know if it needs the board decision, or can the town clerk advance the next step, or is this?
I think Michael will have to tell us.
Michael will tell us, I guess. Okay, all right. All right, let's move on.
Paul,
Oh, sorry.
I'm wondering, just on that subject, I mean, would it behoove us to pass a motion to authorize the attorney if they felt the evidence was proper to move ahead with action in court without waiting for a special meeting?
Yeah, I don't know why we shouldn't do that, and we want to accelerate this and keep it. We want to accelerate this and keep it moving, so we could authorize now the attorney to move ahead if that's the proper legal direction. So, want to make a motion on that?
Well. To counter think my own thinking here, given the track record we had in court last time, maybe we want to make sure what that evidence is before we go ahead. So I'm gonna not make that motion.
Okay,
Yeah, I think having a special meeting, at least three of us can get together. We can obviously invite Bram and maybe Dan and have a real, I would love as part of this to actually have a full conversation with the lawyer too about. You're gonna file this, then what can we do? What should we have prepared?
what happens when he doesn't comply?
Yeah, like if it gets to the door, who do we have to reach out to? So we just understand all the steps. So we're not in a situation where we're saying, well, do we call the sheriff or do we call this person or do we this? Like have a more full game plan.
But that may need to be an executive session.
It will need to be an executive session, yeah.
Yep.
I can't count.
Okay, anything else on this? Thanks for your diligence, Kim. Okay, announcement.
Good night, Kim. I can talk about this.
Okay, you want to talk about the announcement of
Look,
zoning?
It's, oh wait, no,
Skipping
we're
something.
skipping one. discussion.
I'm sorry, plow, yeah, go ahead.
Cool,
I
this
second
is
you.
a discussion, an invitation, if there is one to meet this invitation, to establish a Plainfield Housing Committee. This is in direct response to the many calls for action around exploring what are the other avenues that this town has to bring more housing online. It's been an oft-cited need. And so and I think others on this board that we have not discussed it, feel it is an unfair burden to the East Village Expansion Advisory Committee to also be handling what can be done with this hotel that's right here? What can be done with all the vacant houses? Are there, interesting, like town-wide land trusts that could see collectives of people paying dues to a land trust, which is the maintenance fund for homes purchased by the trust. There are many, many, many possibilities here. Many have been already stated by many townsfolk. And so this is a wondering that I'm bringing to the board and the town, if there is want to establish such a committee. And we would be only too delighted to have more housing options coming online and a greater diversity of housing options coming online. There is my introduction.
Would you like to address?
I had a public comment, but I don't.
Okay.
don't rush.
I think it's a great idea, and I don't know how formal it should be or needs to be, but we have a lot of empty houses in town and that need work. We also have a loss of a lot of houses, so it is a concern. The committee we just established is focused on one particular solution, but we have other ideas as well. We have Goddard is still moving forward with their fairly substantial rental possibilities, but we don't know yet how that will look. And we have, like you say, the hotel here. So I don't know, should we get a reading from the crowd here, if whether this is a good idea, whether it's,
That's hands down the board.
I'm sorry, yeah.
I think it's a good idea to have a group working on housing alternatives. We've been appointing a number of committees, so I worry about committee proliferation in some respects. I would urge us to, if we establish this, to come up with a brief mission statement. I don't think it needs to be as comprehensive as the expansion, which is a huge project. But also maybe to put some timelines on it to say, could you produce a report by 6 months, a year from now, quarterly, something that we give some skeleton to this, but also, some termination to say, at a year from now, do we need to continue the committee? Because sometimes these things just drag on and, we end up with another page in the town report that, the timeliness has gone by. So I just want to share those thoughts.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, obviously housing is the big issue in town, or one of the big issues in town. I would love for us to pull the broader than just the folks that decided to show up today to see what the interest is, see if folks would want to volunteer. Maybe we can figure out a structure based on who's actually interested. And what kind of, what it is, or, if folks just want to investigate very specific things, or if they want to have a more holistic look. And I'll just note the backbone of a lot of the things we do, including these meetings and stuff, is limited for town. So every official committee we put together needs access to Zoom, needs access to other things that we are pretty strained on our limits right now. So we'd have to probably invest in some more accounts or more other things. So just as a note.
Is the vision here to just have a discussion about it? I mean, I'm also kind of with Peter about having another committee, a formal committee, and perhaps a discussion, like on the 12th that you're planning. it's just a community discussion, doesn't have to be board sanctioned. But the board's interested.
And I think the model here really is the East Village, the original steering group for the East Village expansion. This is informal collective of Plainfield residents and Plainfield supporters who came together to explore the feasibility of something and got really deep. You know, we are 8 months, 7 months into this exploration of depth. And now we are deciding that there is a need to formalize this because, yeah, there's follow through that is growing in scope and owned responsibility. And so perhaps this could be an informal steering group, information gathering, exploratory council, that if there is need to go deeper about any one or more of those projects, that need might be revealed through the explorations over the next however many months. I see as a next step, certainly polling this meeting right now, both online and in this room, if there is anyone who knows they might like to be a part of it. Second, Front Porch Forum post as Dan Fingus did for the basically a form questionnaire, who would like to be involved. To start, as Dan said, soliciting interest, who is a part of this conversation, who wants to be.
That seems like a good first step to me. Michael, oh, sorry.
Oh, no.
That's right.
I was just gonna note that, Vermont Council for Rural Development had,
Mhm.
come to us again, offering their services. I think that's one of it might be on this, it is on our next agenda, because
Mhm.
they need to know by April 17th if we want to work with them. I wonder if this is the kind of project that would start much broader, that might be good for them. And as they hone in on like action steps, we can look at working groups from that, so as a potential thought. I'm scary, I don't know if I ever do it.
And they would also help direct. the
Yeah, they
board.
would facilitate and, yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be a little bit more organized than some of our meetings are. Michael?
That's my, I like the idea very much. I share Dan Peters' concerns about the committee bogging down over time, finding volunteers. I think the VCR, I mean, I'm standing here and Dan mentions VCRD. I think that's an awesome way to apply this idea, if they want to facilitate it. That wouldn't be a town function, but it would be a town benefit to the benefit of the town. So I like the idea, and I'd also like to point out that even after all these months and all this heavy, intense work, there is always the possibility that the project won't be realized, that the budget may go too high to be
Mhm.
paid for out of lot sales. A number of environmental things could get in the way, things could balloon. The Trump effect on costs could be a big deal. There's a lot of reasons why it's possible that the envisioned project won't come to fruition, at least in a timely way. And having alternatives already being explored, renovating derelict buildings, buying them again, developing other pieces of property, a couple of which are already town owned. These are all possibilities, and so what can we lose by exploring those things?
Thank you, I agree. Who would be interested in talking to VCRD?
We have the option of inviting them here for our next meeting on the 14th. They offered presence
Yeah.
here. We can run this by them. Absolutely.
So that'd be a good time to.
Yeah, they did just let us know that making their decisions of which communities they're gonna work with this year is April 17th, they have to decide. So if did want to talk to them before our next meeting, and then at our next meeting, we would need to invite them.
Yeah.
To work with us.
I'm thinking we want to talk to them before the meeting for sure about this, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Um,
who can do that?
I'm in touch with VCRD.
Okay, just so you could do that.
I'm in touch with VCRD. I can reach out about this. I'm curious if, yeah, I still would like names of people who could be interested in this. Council and project and or invite those to the VCRD. Everyone's invited, but just to make sure that the message is received by those who want it most.
Arian, go.
Arian Boomerang, I think it's a great idea. I'm not volunteering, but I think it's a great idea. And I also think there are a lot of different directions that came up so far in looking at the village expansion project that we didn't have time or energy to go down that could, be some potential leads in those directions.
Oh, great.
And VCRD was great. That even came up with, they offered at one point to talk more specifically about housing using their process. And so I think that I would imagine if they were interested previously, they would still be interested. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Yes, Michael. Why don't you start?
I have a longstanding interest in this, and I'm not saying it as potential member at this group, although I could be. The ways in which I hear the discussion about housing that could be exploited that isn't being used, or housing potential at Goddard. Just from my perspective and moving through the town so frequently with regard to the post-disaster displacements and such. I know I have personal connections with one of the property owners, actually owns 4 properties, who is very much resisting improving or making housing available. I also am one of 3 or 4 townspeople who are in regular connection with Goddard and have a fairly reasonable, realistic sense of what they're able to do over whatever is the time frame. But it should be taken into account that everyone who's asked for buyout as an example, as Arian knows, won't necessarily want to be accept that offer. So whether we're looking at open land where our house used to be, or whether we're still looking at that house in use. Again, I have insights by talking with those families, and I at very least like to be in connection with this committee in terms of helping people understand the landscape of housing. I'm one of the people. Along with Carol Smith.
Yeah.
I don't know that date.
Who would know?
Hopefully when this through.
Okay. Do we have anybody online who wants to speak? No? Oh, Kirsty?
No, she's
No.
got a text message, which can be read.
Oh,
I can speak up. Oh, hold on. The Plainfield Area Community Trust has spoken about addressing this issue a few times in some capacity. We would definitely need more volunteers and help to actually realize some type of movement on this. But we have worked with VCRD and we've gone through the process of establishing ourselves as a 501c3, so maybe that could be of use here.
great, thank you.
And then Alicia has a hand up.
Who is it?
Alicia does.
Oh, Alicia?
Yeah, hi, thanks. Thank you for raising this, Francis Rose. As someone who cares a lot about the preservation of our historic homes, and we know we've lost a number and are going to lose more in the demolition that goes with some of the buyouts. I see this as a really important prong of our town plan for repurposing some of those structures that are right now decaying, empty, and not being put to the good housing use they can. So I'm not volunteering. I would like to hear more, but I'm definitely interested and support this strongly.
You're getting a lot of agreement on the text.
A lot of agreement with no volunteers, so I think the next step is VCRD.
Yeah,
There's gonna be an event. Keep your eyes out for it.
yeah, just keep paying attention, and if you're interested at all, even just to hear what it's about, we'll have to be organizing a meeting, but we'll probably VCRD will do that. Okay. Anything else on this? All right, the zoning amendment hearing is coming up, and I don't know when it is, do you?
We have to set the date.
Oh, we set the date, okay,
So,
yes, please.
so our planning board has gone through a zoning hearing. They have now sent those zoning changes to us. We need to set a hearing. It must be more than 15 days from now, or more than 15 days when we can actually put it in the paper. So we're probably realistically maybe looking at our April 28th meeting to be the zoning hearing, because that will give us time to put the posting in the paper and other places we need to do it. It is for the changes that the planning commission discussed before the vote in March that weren't part of the original changes. And so there are a lot of cleanup and fixes. And they've had several meetings and a hearing about it already, which you can find online. The changes themselves are online on the planning commission's website, on our town website. And we just need to go through them as well and hear from the public about them. And then at some point, we as a select board will be able to take action on those zoning changes.
You said that these are the changes that were given to us prior to the vote early that.
Yeah.
And so they have not made any further amendments or no proposed amendments to that. Will Colgan sent out a couple of emails that,
We'll get there.
I know he's on here, but he sent out a couple of things which I frankly found confusing to read. It was like, are there new amendments? Are we talking about the old amendments? So if you could clarify, that would be good.
Yeah, they're essentially the same amendments. What I did was I incorporated them into the draft, so they're a little clearer.
You used the word essentially. Are
Yes.
they exactly the same or are they different?
Well, the original document I sent to you mentioned that there should be a 30% limit on the amount of lots in a subdivision that could be 1/10 of an acre or larger. And so it's essentially the same language, but I think it's clearer. The meaning is 30% of the lots in a major subdivision can be 1/10 of an acre or larger. And then.
Well, I understand the substance of what you're saying. I'm looking for the legal language. Has it been proposed, or do we have to get new legal language from you to warn? Because we have.
No, the language that's in the draft is the language that is in the warning and is the language that you can hold a hearing on and approve.
Thank you.
Okay.
And for folks who want to follow along on our website, if you go, I think it's actually on the front page of our website. Planning Commission front page, it's on our front page, proposed zoning amendments. So there's a simpler document that just lists the changes. I don't know how many there are, it looks like about 10, but it may be less than that. And then there's a document that says full zoning document with amendments in red, and if you click on that PDF, if you like scroll down to page 9, for example, there's a new section called adaptive reuse, and there's the new language. And so anything that's in red on that document is new to the planning, to the zoning rules.
Will, another question. So let's say we hold a hearing, we warn a hearing and we get some comments there, and we might want to make changes. Is the select board authorized to do that?
The term is minor changes. You know, and I'm not sure what that threshold is. If the changes are substantive, then the process would start. You would send it back to the planning commission.
So for example, I'm looking at the list of 9 or 10 changes that not the actual document with the red stuff, but the suggested changes with some bullet
Yes.
points. Let's say there are, how many of these? 9 of them. Let's say we didn't like, or a lot, the public gave us comments saying, we like them all except this one. Would eliminating one of them be a minor change, and we could do that?
I guess it depends on the one. If you wanted to eliminate a definition that would make the document less clear, I guess you can do that. But if you wanted to say change the 30% to 10% or 70%, that would be sort of a significant policy change. You see what I mean?
I do, thank you.
So it sounds like we are going to get onto the maybe next meeting's agenda. The announcement of April 28th.
No, this is the announcement.
We're announcing it, right?
We
We're
have
gonna
we have to announce it.
Well, we don't, I mean, we don't have to, but if we wait to meet in 2 weeks, then we'll have to do it 15 days past
Oh, I
that, so
see.
we'll have to wait
Okay.
even longer.
Right,
I'd like to make a motion.
okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we announce the hearing to receive the zoning amendments to our zoning bylaws. April 28th, our regular select board meeting.
So is there a second? Oh, second. Any discussion?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
I,
Aye. Unanimous. Okay, so we'll get that on the agenda for that meeting.
thank you, Will.
Thanks, Will.
Thank you.
Okay, we're down to the NEKCV discussion of the letter. And our representative is on. He joined us early, so come back on, please.
Yes, he's right up there next to us.
Yeah, I can't read his name.
Jeremy Matt.
Jeremy, okay, Jeremy.
Hi, everyone. I'm the Plainfield delegate to NEKCV, used to be called CV Fiber until we merged. For those of you who don't know, very briefly, we're a communication union district, which means that we're a nonprofit dedicated to bringing universal broadband access to everywhere in our member towns. This item is about the select board signing a letter of support for the federal BEAD grant program in support of NEKCV's application to that program. This is, in my opinion, probably Plainfield's best opportunity to get fiber to all of our underserved addresses. There just aren't other funding sources out there. In general, for the letter, I would recommend that the select board agree to sign the letter, and obviously happy to help revise it if there are any sticking points with what I sent over earlier. But I guess I see it as potentially a huge benefit for the town of Plainfield in that we could get lots of money for expanding broadband to people that currently don't have it. And signing the letter is no cost to the town. So that's all I have to say. But happy to answer any questions.
Okay, you kicked out a little bit there when you were talking about who this grant would go to. And is it for the underserved? Is that what you said? Is that what you said?
Correct. Yes. The grant is specifically to get to the 208 some odd addresses in Plainfield who do not have broadband internet access. And apologize for things dropping out. That just kind of highlights the need for better internet. I guess Starlink is letting me down here. But yeah. It would cover building other areas, but only to get to the underserved. To get the rest of the way there, we would have to find other money But you know, the more grant money we have and the more we can build using grant money, the faster we can get built out to everyone.
Any
Does that make
discussion?
sense?
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
I mean, this seems like a no-brainer. It's the broadband equity access and deployment grant. Seems like something with, if we have 208 underserved households in Plainfield. We can get money from the state to help them get broadband. I don't know why we wouldn't support this.
Sounded like a motion.
Yeah,
Yes,
here, I can.
Yeah.
Motion to have the town of Plainfield, select board. Sign on to a support letter for NEKCV, in their application for the broadband equity access and deployment grants. And allow Carl to sign on behalf of the
Sure.
select board?
Second,
it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor of signing, having me sign the letter, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we got it, we got it.
So,
Mhm.
so Jeremy, I don't know
All
if
right,
you.
thank you very much.
Jeremy, I don't know if you can get a dated, letter that also has just Carl's name as chair of the select board at the bottom, and it actually says town of Plainfield in the bottom part. And we'll just have him sign on behalf of the select board.
And
Okay,
you can.
sounds good.
you
I
can
will
send-
do that.
You can send that to the town clerk. I'll find it there.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Okay, response to Vermont Community Foundation and offer for engineering services. Discussion.
I mean, I can.
Do you want
I
to
can
say something
introduce
about
this.
that?
This is the Vermont Community Foundation has offered the town of Plainfield a sum of $150,000 in the form of an unsecured loan for the purpose of continuing the journey from the schematic design where the East Village expansion is at now to construction design. What specifically, where specifically, how wide, through what right of ways. There's a lot of professional expertise, consultation services required to do this next step, this next phase of exploration. For this, the Vermont Community Foundation has offered us a loan that, if the project does not go forward, we are not obligated to pay back the $150,000. As a testament to their belief in the seeing about it, at least. This. This is a risk, they know this is a risk, they're like comfortable with the risk of the process. And so this is what we are here to discuss.
Any thoughts?
I know we had some brief conversation at the last meeting about whether we could do this loan or not. Since then, we've gotten some more information, that under 24 VSA 1786A, it allows the borrowing to pay current expenses, including capital expenses, and so a capital asset could be a current expense. So it seems like this is something that we are allowable to do under state law, according to the advice that we're being given.
Okay,
Couple of questions. The last formal document that I've seen, and if there has been something since then, this was from the Community Foundation from Lawrence Miller, addressed to Arian about this proposal. Unsecured 12-month loan up to $150,000 with 2% interest and a bullet maturity, meaning a balloon payment at the end. No payments during the term with principal and interest due at the end of the term. Now, this is a letter, this isn't the actual document, and so procedurally, I have a question about whether we will have a second vote on the actual document once we see the actual document. This seems to me, this is a proposal with certain conditions, including the conditions include final due diligence approved by the select board or town vote as needed, determination of a reasonable approach to disclosure or other resolution of a municipal ethics consideration relative to the town clerk being the seller, progress toward a definitive purchase and sales agreement with the seller, and satisfactory bid responses. That's a big, long list of stuff.
Yeah.
And I just, I don't think we're being asked tonight to vote on the loan. So I'm curious as to what we are actually being asked to vote on.
My understanding is at the end of this conversation, I hope, is that there is a motion to receive the loan documents from the Vermont Community Foundation, so we have the specificity of detail that is needed to approve that or not.
Do we need a motion to accept that? I mean,
I
can't
thi-
they just send it?
Well, I don't think they're gonna create the loan document unless we're at all interested.
I mean,
Oh, I think.
I'm happy to give them our vote of yes.
Yeah, why would they wouldn't create the document unless they know that we're.
And then we review the document once we get it.
Right. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. I do have a question, and this goes back to my earlier investigation of the proposed bond vote for town meeting. And conversations with Eli about some of the Vermont statutes regarding how we have to handle any financial instrument like that in terms of our town budget and our town tax rate. This would be a loan that's due in a year. $150,000. It's currently not in our budget for next year. Would we have to have a concurrent motion to amend our budget and increase it by 150,000 in order to pay it back?
We ask our treasurer,
I mean,
I don't know if
he may not know. Yeah, go ahead.
perhaps I'm now wondering transparently if this can be paid back with the $2.5 million bond. Should the town vote to approve the bond? I see Arian coming to answer that question. And if not, this is the unsecured moment, but here's Arian.
If the intention, as I understand it from the Vermont Community Foundation, is if the town intends to move forward with the village expansion project, this would be rolled into that larger loan and effectively refinance that time with the larger vote that would be a public vote. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, hopefully they will write that in the language of the, yeah.
I'm sure it's can be requested.
Right, but if that does not go ahead, we're still on the hook for $150,000, which isn't in our budget. It's really a question, do we amend our budget to cover that?
The intention is to forgive the loan if the project doesn't go forward.
Okay, I guess we'll have to look at that language.
So from conversations with the Vermont Community Foundation, they see it going one of two ways, right? We don't move forward with the project and the loan is forgiven. We do move forward with the project and it's wrapped into the $2.5 million.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
Thank you for the clarity. Yep.
So it sounded like there was a.
Gotta say your name.
Oh, I'm sorry, Liz Peralt. So my question about this is, it sounded like there's a laundry list of things that the committee, the expansion committee had to like check off, like we had to do all these different things within the year. And if it all fails within the year, then we're off the hook. So just knowing how things move sometimes, what if something doesn't get checked off the list? And then we are on the hook and potentially the project doesn't go forward for whatever reason. And so so there's definitely a risk of not meeting their requirements to not be obligated to pay that loan back, even if the project does not move forward.
Okay, I think I heard the other thing, which was if it doesn't go forward, the loan doesn't have to get paid back. Am I correct there?
As was, I mean, just to repeat an informal conversation, Lawrence Miller said to me, if the Vermont Community Foundation, as the largest philanthropic organization in the state of Vermont, were in the business of suing small towns, they wouldn't be where they are today.
I'd like to make a motion that we ask Francis Rose, no, you don't get to tell me to hold on. I'm literally, it's fine, you can talk after me, there's discussion, I can still make a motion. Make a motion to have Francis Rose ask for creation of the loan documents so that we can review them and have a fuller sense of what this loan will or will not be, before we make a decision.
For a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Would you like to,
Doug Wyrish. It just makes sense that before you, and I believe it's the same thing you were just saying. Get the document, it's okay to request a document, get the document, so you're not relying on third-hand information from
Yeah.
3 different people. As far as, do we really have to pay it back, do we not have to pay it back, what are the conditions?
I think that's what this vote is to allow that document to come to us for review.
Just clarify.
Fair enough, yeah. Any discussion on the board? No. Okay. Michael?
I wanna just add, I wanna ask a question, can the engineering that's gonna be paid for this loan, is that predetermined? Is the steering committee already recommended certain engineering that it needs to get done? Or is this going to be decided later by the advisory? And then, I'll let you answer in a second. And the other thing I wanted to add was, I know that at least 2 members of the select board are familiar with this, but I'm not sure all of the select board is familiar with the fact that the East Silver property falls in the water source protection area for the town's water supply. And it is possible that engineering will be required to deal with that issue. And I don't know if that's been addressed yet. It's an important issue because any pollution that goes downhill into the wetlands and then migrates in the aquifer to the village water supply could jeopardize that water supply. So that has to be protected.
Yeah.
And I'll just finish. There is a village, town water supply, I forget the proper terminology, water source protection plan that exists now. And it mentions that no development is expected in that area. And the plan is now expired because it was supposed to be renewed on March 22nd. It's every 3 years it's supposed to be renewed. So these are things that aren't directly related to what you're voting on, but I thought it was important for you to know that the engineering that you needed, they need to address this issue.
I'm personally aware of this issue and I'm looking forward to the committee to study that because it's gonna be an issue.
And we've already had the, Mary Lane, who's one of the water wastewater commissioners, has already volunteered to be a liaison to the village expansion advisory committee. For, I'm guessing there'll be a working group related to this issue, that she will be a liaison with the water and wastewater department on.
Mhm. And I also talked to Tristan, who understands this as well. And he's with some conditions, he's comfortable with the tentative plans that are out there, but this definitely has to be researched.
Just an answer to the question about the engineering firms. My hope would be that, and the mission statement that we gave to the expansion committee is that they will bring those RFPs and recommendations to the select board, but the select board will make the decision on those contracts.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. It's unanimous, and we will then ask for that documentation for the,
I believe the
For the
motion
vote.
was that I would ask, so I will ask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah,
is it-
you will ask, yeah.
I will ask.
Okay. Uh, Okay, we have requests for proposals, engineering services regarding the village expansion. Did we cover, just cover this? No.
No.
No. Ah, okay.
I don't know this.
Go ahead, Sandy.
I'm Sandy Midston, and I have been preparing an RFP for engineering services following Plainfield's protocol. And it would be for phase 2 services. It would be issued tomorrow. And the response period would be next deadline would be on the 14th. 14th of April, which is your next regular meeting. And so my hope would be that you would hear back and decided about the loan as a first step before considering the responses for the engineer's proposal. I want to be clear that the proposal is going to be focused on the design that comes. Right? So, that's by no means fixed in the documents or in the would be in the contract. And it's specifically to develop after the design is set. Permit documents and contract documents to establish a bid for contractors, general contractors. To do the construction.
Any questions?
Do these RFP documents exist that we could look at?
Yes, I submitted them.
We receive them?
Yeah, they arrived by email this evening.
Yeah, I submitted a rough draft last week.
Okay. And any responses to these RFPs, they're due on the 14th, but that's our meeting, so we won't have any time to look at them.
I hesitated to ask for a special meeting on the 21st, which would be another option. As it is, they would have less than 2 weeks to respond, which is a little tight for engineers, but they will do this. So, the idea is that they would be due at 10 o'clock in the morning on Monday, the 14th. To give them a maximum amount of time. And then, the responses would be sent to you directly. And I've been, emailing things to 2 people because I don't want to violate the information, whatever open meeting rules. So, I would be happy to send them to all 5 select board members on the 14th if I'm allowed to do that.
I would just say that those of us who work full-time to receive something at 10 o'clock in the morning of the day you're asking us to do. It's not a technical document, it's not realistic. And I know we're in a transition period between the steering committee and the expansion group here. But there are a number of areas here where I think we need to take a beat and bring these activities in under this group and as quickly as possible. And I know that the people I talked to and interviewed for membership in this committee, many of them said, I asked them a specific question. What are the first 2 most important steps for this committee? And most of the people responded with to get everyone on the same page and up to speed as possible, particularly with figures. And secondly, to have a timetable developed out there. That's what I heard from most of the people that I talked to. And so I would hope that the expansion committee takes that to heart as they move forward and figures out the best way to pull you in under the umbrella of that committee, which would then advise us as the select board as to the steps we need to vote on. To have RFPs being issued that we have not read yet, on a deadline to come back on a morning that I'm gonna be working full-time. I think Dan will be working full-time. I can't speak for the others here. On that particular day is not fair to us, and it's not fair to the town. So I'll just leave it at that because I don't have an answer to it, except I'm bothered by it.
Sorry if I offended you.
I'm not offended by it. I'm just saying, that, you know, it's not realistic.
And Sandy, just, I'm trying to look at my email, sorry. I'm trying to look at my email. Did you sent these documents to Carl and Francis Rose? Yeah.
Yeah, but the rest of the
So,
board has,
Well, yeah, because we have told people to send stuff to you all to disseminate rather than having emails that have all of us on them.
right,
So I don't know if that you all have disseminated those documents.
I have not.
I'm about to.
So they had it a week ago. We just didn't have it.
Well, I mean, the final copy arrived tonight. Okay.
Yeah.
I think this returns us to the matter of the special meeting on the 21st. I agree that the proposals coming in the morning of our meeting presents an impossible challenge for the breadth of this board to understand what is in those documents by that evening. And so I ask my fellow board members if there is willingness to post a special meeting on the 21st to talk about these proposals coming in.
You're out of town, right?
I'm sorry,
You're out of town, right?
I'm out of town, so I won't be here on the 14th. I'd be here on the 21st.
Oh, I thought you were away on the 21st.
Oh, wait,
You're
I
here
am
for our
away.
regular meeting.
I am
You're
away. Yeah.
I can make the 21st work if we had at least three of us.
We
I
need
can make
three,
the
right?
21st. It's a Monday. It's a Monday. So four of us could make it, so we'll just need to remember to warn it after our 14th meeting.
Okay.
And so we've got that decided, but now we're still in the position of, do we approve an RFP tonight?
We haven't seen it. Yeah. It's,
Josh, were you raising? Josh, yes.
oh, yeah, go ahead. It's on.
So one of the things like you could do is say, you can send out this RFP. The committee that you're setting up can choose to reject the proposals. But, you know, you can keep this process moving, but you still have to get the proposals back. The RFP isn't, you know, the proposal's the important piece. The RFP is not, and we're just saying, we want proposals, and that's just like the first step. So I don't think it necessarily is a detriment to like the process as a whole to say, yeah, the proposal can go out. You know, and the request can go out without, you know, necessarily, you're not, I don't think you're locked into accepting it, per se.
I'll take Josh speaks my mind here. Thank you.
And I would say that this board's not really in a position to tell you what should be in the RFP. So I think Josh makes a good point. Go ahead.
There is a period to make changes, called an amendment not made in the RFP. And amendments are due to candidate by April 10th. So one suggestion I could respectfully make is that the select board could have ability to review this as they like. And if I can issue it and at their leisure, we can work out any concerns they have. It's a pretty standard RFP. It's very similar to the one issued for the first phase. It just goes through a brief description of the project so far, gives a timeline for the project, which matches the one that I've circulated a couple times, and describes the deliverables. And then it describes the selection process. And well, the proposal details and the selection process. And because a grant may be applied for, it's qualifying for, I've worked with the state of Vermont to make sure that all of the details of the submission match the state's details and requirements.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the request for proposals to go out for phase 2 engineering services for the East Village expansion project.
We have a second? We have a second? Further discussion? I tend to agree with Josh that sending out an RFP is, there's no risk to the town. What we have to decide is when those come back and decide if it's actually what we are asked for and what we feel can be supported. So I'll vote in favor of this. So anyway, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Unanimous, so send out the RFP and do be sensitive to the time of the people that are working when you're sending them out, if you will. What's up?
This brings me to a question I should have asked way up when we were doing the appointments. We have appointed 11 people, some of them are here and some are not. Who's going to reach out to them? And I know the select board is we put it in the mission and stuff that we would be calling the first meeting of the committee. Who is going to be taking on that task for the select board?
I have been the liaison. I'm happy to continue being the liaison. What it said was that the select board would attend that meeting and not that we would schedule that meeting. I do believe there has already been a proposed date and time for that first meeting. I don't actually know what it is though.
I think that date and time was last week when they thought we were appointing last Monday. From my memory, so I don't know that there is an actual date and time. I do think there are no co-chairs to the committee yet. And so like, there's no one to actually open a committee meeting other than us. So I think we'll probably have to have somewhat of a hand in figuring out from the 11 folks when they can meet, being there, having a select board member, facilitate the meeting, do elections of the chairs, and then those 3 chairs can take it from there, I think.
Okay.
But I do think we need to have those steps, and I'm happy to help with it, but if you've got it, you're welcome.
No, welcome.
Yes, sir.
Jared Birchmore, I was just going to throw out there that I believe you all have the emails from the sign up sheet. So potentially either Dan, if this is something that you're able to do, making an email thread with yourself, any other select board members that want to be on that, and then the 11 that have been appointed to try to narrow down on a date and time, and that way everyone can be all in one thread. That might be a good way to move forward.
Good idea, thank you. Are you willing to do that?
Yeah.
Okay,
And I'll have Francis Rose on the email too, then we can both
Thank you.
communicate.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's good.
Arrington, I had a point of clarification around the proposal that the select board circulated for the new advisory committee. And that was, there was as I read it, if I read it correctly, there was a 3 co-chair. If there could be some, I remember when I spoke with Peter actually this morning, I said, how is there a vision of how that might work? And just some clarification on that would be helpful. Thank you.
And I think the vision was, rather than having one head of the committee, that there would be three. I think the three of them would work then on agenda setting together and facilitation, and so I think those three folks would decide, you know, I mean, the same person could facilitate every meeting if that's what the co-chairs want. But that there would be a discussion by those three folks to set the committee meeting agendas, notify the other committee members and act in that way, rather than putting it on any one person.
Okay. I guess the next item is gonna be approval of minutes. I've read through these and they look accurate. We have a motion to accept the minutes of March 24th.
That's been my recommendation.
Sorry.
Make a motion to approve, select board meeting minutes, date Monday, March 24th, 2025.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We no longer have to approve permits for trucks. That's helpful. Do we have some
Accounts payable. and
warrants? Yeah, we have,
Accounts payable and payroll.
do we have the details here for those?
We have the last minutes, we're just looking at them.
Oh.
And tell us what we did last time.
Yeah, I don't want to
So we
duplicate.
did,
Up until 3:20.
yeah, up until 3:20, so anything that's in there post March 20th, we would do.
Here. Oh, I'll let you do that.
Can I ask a minutes question while we were?
Yeah.
working on that? So we're getting, I think, 3 different versions of minutes at this point. We're getting
AI,
yeah, we're getting an AI, we're getting a transcript, and then we're getting the minutes. And I would just point out, got an email from Riley Carlson the other day about this, that Vermont statutes do require our minutes to contain certain things, like who was there, exact wordings of motions, exact votes, etc. The transcript and AI stuff is not capturing that. And I'm just wondering if we need all of those vehicles. I personally rarely read the AI thing, quite frankly.
So my understanding of the AI thing, which is just recording everything that gets said, is, so I create notes as we go, which is mostly what this looks like. But it doesn't always have everything because there's lots going on. And so before, when Kristen was the administrative assistant, she would then go along with the video and take additional notes.
Right, the
And
video,
so-
which is an actual thing, yeah.
Yeah, so then the AI notes, I think, are supposed to be just an assistance there, because it actually has everything down too. I think the idea, and this is what Bram sent out, was for him to just augment my notes with some more details where I may have lacked. But he sent this. But no, the AI notes, I think, are just like full transcripts. I don't know that we need to be posting those, but I think they help in creating notes, or if there's a question of what happened in that conversation. Obviously, we have the recording, but this is also there too.
Can I just make a suggestion, just because I happen to live in the world of.
can we use the mic?
Oh,
Sorry.
sorry. Maybe a helpful suggestion, because I live in the world of minutes, unfortunately. And we're struggling with the same thing, transcripts and AI and all that. So what we do is use the assistant tools, which is the transcript and AI. And then we have we have to keep those because, if somebody wants a public records request, we have to produce that as well, I believe, because it's recorded. But your official minutes can be the fusion of human, AI, and transcript, which is the what you should only I suggest as a board, you look at one document. And that is your one set of minutes that you are saying, yes, we agree to this. The rest is backup you keep as records for any future, legal stuff.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think we just maybe need to ask Bram to not post the two AI pieces to the website, because they are confusing, and if you just click
Yeah.
on them, they're confusing. And we are taking, at least you can tell what happened in the notes I take. If it needs more detail, Bram or someone else in the office can add that.
And we have a new employee coming on next week.
Starting
who
at 7.
Starts on the 7th, Jesse, I believe. Jamie, sorry. I've seen both names, that's what's confusing me. I don't know why.
What's their full name?
Jamie Hammett, Hammack.
Hammock, yeah, but spelled a little differently. But my thought is that that person may be able to do the fusion that's necessary to create one document that then is published.
I would like to ask that person, Jamie, to do that.
Yeah,
That is my intention, is to ask Jamie's assistance with the minutes.
yeah,
It is clearly a realm where we need support
yeah,
and Bram needs support.
and we have to do it.
They're
according-
coming into the office at a perfect time to help us.
Mhm. Yeah. So we can talk to Bram and that person.
And I have dates on accounts payable and
Okay.
payroll.
Yep,
I can use the mic to make a motion to approve payroll dated 3/27 and accounts payable dated 3/21 and 3/28.
Second.
all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And next meeting is going to be on April 14.
What about isn't there a hearing or something on the 7th?
7. That's a great question.
This was Riley's question about the 2 different postings. Karen Hatcher, it's a loan hearing, or a grant hearing. Oh, you were in these, else I know you were, but.
It's not on my calendar. But that's not a select board meeting, what
Well,
is
I think
that?
the select board has to
Be there?
post the hearing, I think.
It's a public hearing.
Yeah.
This is on the
To
60,000.
chime in here, I'm sorry, Karen Hatcher had formally requested the 7th as a grant for a community development block grant proposal hearing.
Is this a select board hearing?
I think it has to be, in that sense. It would be in the hearing warning, but I'm pretty sure that it is.
Yeah.
It's CDBG funds, but it's called something else.
It is a planning grant, a CDBG, Community Development Block Grant Planning Grant, not to be confused with the municipal planning grant, which we did not apply for.
Yeah, it does appear. There's a public hearing on April 7th, 2025, and we probably ought be there.
And it's, what's the name of it again, since you have that pulled up? It's the CBGB.
This is the,
Community Development Block Grant Planning Grant, and there is a paper copy at the town clerk's office, and I think there's a digital copy that's been circulated of the draft.
Can you turn that so I get? Thanks.
okay,
Planning grant.
Vermont planning grant under the Vermont Community Development Program.
Yeah.
So I guess the
Community
question is, do we-
Development Planning grant that uses CDBG funds.
So I guess the question is, do we need yet another meeting?
I mean, we already have.
Well, we've already announced this.
We've already announced,
It's
it, okay,
6
yeah.
o'clock.
okay,
6 o'clock.
okay, 6
Are we-
o'clock, April 7.
And it's Monday. And I let you all know by email that I'm in DC next week,
Yes,
so I will
right.
not be here for that.
I
Right,
will not be here.
I will be here for that, but I won't be here for
I
the
didn't
next.
catch Peter.
I said I might be able to get the end of that by Zoom, but
Okay,
not the first hour anyway.
You
okay,
can make it, Patty? Okay, so it sounds like it's Patty.
we can be
Carl,
3 of us
myself,
anyway, and then if
me,
you could
Peter,
join, that'd be
Dave.
great.
And it seems
Okay.
like connecting with Karen on the agenda for that meeting, like.
Yeah, I'll talk to Karen, yeah, I'm in touch with Karen.
Motion to adjourn?
Okay, we have our 2 meetings set, right?
Yeah.
7th and May 14th, okay. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I just, mowed it,
You just moted it
So voted B.
and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, folks. Thank you.
Supposed to put chairs up? I think so.
Yeah.
Most of them go on that rack.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting a second one. It'll hold
Yeah.
almost all the chairs. Not all of them. That hits 42 and then we're getting another. Question, is it about the lighting?
Yes.
Yeah.
We've already asked, we're looking into getting brighter lights. And part of it is the MERP grant.
No for me.
Lighting
What's
is part
up?
of the MERP grant. that
Liz
got-
Stein. Oh, I should, okay, we're gonna close the
To try to
meeting.
get brighter. Yes.
Thank you, friends, Zoom land.